in those higher risk industries, it's a legitimate worry that, he's at 30K, he could be at 10K the next month if the ads don't work. He could also be at 200K. I've seen that with two of my dropshipper clients that I helped scale. And so let's say he goes down to 10K or even 6K, right? No, he goes to Chiang Mai and he spends his 1K. He's still got 5K to put back into the business without having to build it back up without having to go back into savings, right? Even if he were to go into savings, uh, you know, his expenses are $1,000 a month for the year. And if you're, 27, 28-year-old guy, even for me when I was there from like 32 to 35, it's a nice place to live. It's one of my favorite places in the world. Now I was spending more than that, but even in that case, is harder to spend unless you're going bottle service more than 4K or something or 5K, right? Even if you're eating Western food every night and delivery and going out all the time, it's just a very cheap place to live. So he could do a whole year on a 12K expense, right? And even if he had to go put 30K from his savings into the business to ramp it back up again, he's if it works, he's going to get that money back in a month or two, right? If it doesn't work, he might have to start a different kind of business, but he's on $1,000 a month runway. Like how bad can it be? His 300,000 in liquid cash and assets at $1,000 a month, at 12,000 years is 3 decades worth of runway. Now that doesn't include the investments for businesses, but there's a lot of businesses you can start for next to nothing if his current deal didn't work. But chances are the guy's going to be able to make some money in drop shipping, right? If he's scaled up to 100K, there's a good chance that even if the industry massively changes, he's still probably going to be able to get 20K out of it for the next 3-4 years and use that to leverage it into something perhaps more stable. So that's really important to know what the first gear is, right? And that there is a first gear, and that there's a first gear at $1,000 in Chiang Mai, Thailand, or Dalat, Vietnam, the cities that have less, tourists. Like Bali is going to be higher than 1,000. Although you can do 1,000, you can certainly do it. It's just not as it's a you can get a decent place for 400 a month, just not as nice as you could in Chiang Mai. But that setting doesn't exist in America. I don't know what it is today in America. It's probably 3K or 4K, right? So there's a massive advantage in living abroad and knowing that you can live anywhere, or even if you're an American and you're living in America now, to know that that's your option, right? To be able to go live for $1,000 and have a comfortable quality of life, motorcycle, insurance, the whole bit. In a place that doesn't have winter, where it's good weather and whatnot. So you need that first gear, but you also need to know what your fifth gear is, and if you're doing well, to be able to budget for that fifth gear and put it into your vacation metrics. And that's kind of the point of making this money, is to be able to spend it, and it doesn't have to be a permanent thing. In fact, it can be planned in advance, right? Like where you're living for each quarter. Maybe you've got a vacation for 2 weeks at the end of each quarter where you're going to drop 5K, 10K for that 2 week period with your girlfriend, and you know where you're going, and so you're budgeting in advance for 20K to 40K over the course of a year to really enjoy yourself, right? Or instead of that, you do every 6 months. On the sixth month, you go to Dubai, you go to Brazil, you go to Maldives, and you're planning on spending 20K, 25K or whatever, right? Or 30K. For some of my clients, their fifth gear is 200K a month or 300K a month, depending on how well you do. That 300K or whatever includes flying private, right? That's where, when you're living abroad, spending anything above 25K is either going to be buying tables in clubs, buying Louis Vuitton, or flying private. And I mean buying a lot of designer goods, right? Like, you can still buy a good amount of Louis Vuitton for 25K in Bangkok and still live in a baller ass place and still go out for dinner every night, um, because your money just goes a long way. So keep that in mind. You don't have any obligations, and you can still post dope ass shit on Instagram and in Chiang Mai. You're still doing better than most people at 27 with 300K in the bank and, an income of 10K a month, tax free or tax minimized, right? Um, and you'll be back up in no time if there's a problem. Um, but also sometimes you might just want to shift down into first gear, right? Even if you're making 30K, spend 1,000 so that instead of putting 20K a month back into your business, you're putting 29,000 back into the business when you got a hot one and the flywheel's working and you're like, man, I want to know life the next year, just get me a girlfriend, go out twice a week and just dump into this business and scale perhaps twice as fast as I would before because that extra 9K is compounded every month, right? So to know that you have the first gear to be able to do that and not worry about it too much, in regards to pride or whatever, because like you're still living a dope ass life, um, even at that price range, right? And most people are in America in shitty weather, and you can take the motorcycle out, right? And you get a nice, you know, Ninja for like 3 grand, right? Take that out on these crazy like mountain treks into the temples and stuff, and you got a killer IG reel, and you're doing the nature boy lifestyle for a couple months, um, and then you're back in Dubai or you're back in wherever the base is, right? So that's really important, to know how to handle that financial fear, which brings me to the fear that's on a lot of guys' minds right now, which is the reset, which is AI, which is CBDCs, which is programmable money, which is social credit, carbon credit, ESG, and all this shit is coming. Okay, um, it is about getting to acceptance of that, and more importantly, it's about getting to an understanding of exactly how it's going to be rolled out, so you're not caught flat-footed, and so that you can plan in advance and get your net worth up in advance while there's still this window, and where you can take advantage of things like AI and use it for your business instead of seeing it used against you, right? So we are undergoing massive technological change this decade. We're also undergoing massive change in terms of, we're going to see a monetary reset. We haven't seen that since the end of Bretton Woods in, I guess, the early 70s when the um, uh, dollar was depegged from gold. And this is spoken about openly by, the people that are interested in world governance, that there needs to be a financial reset, and that, um, that is the term that they're using, right? That there are going to be CBDCs, which is going to completely change the nature of money. There's going to be no cash by the end of 2030 in a lot of countries, right? Um, and you need to fully understand all that so that you can prepare for it and you can think about, how am I going to win? How am I going to maintain the same levels of freedom? And not just in survival, but how am I going to keep winning and keep doing better and keep finding opportunities, right, within the new game for me to profit from, with stuff like AI, um, with stuff like, you know, the game plan I'm talking about is my, Great Reset course, right? How to survive and thrive during the Great Reset. That is an example of me using what's coming in a way to monetize it, and also a way to help you. So I highly recommend you get that course, revolutionarylifestyledesign.com/courses. And that's going to solve a lot of your financial fears, to know exactly what's coming and to have a game plan for how to set yourself up to win. Okay. And we're not talking about any type of politics here. We're not talking about any type of, judgment of the situation. We are talking about understanding the cold, hard facts as a player in the game of life, and learning how the new game is going to work, and how to set yourself up to play and win that new game when there is still a window to do so.